Welcome to Links and Locks Action Network's golf betting podcast presented by Bet365. I'm your host, Andy Lack, and I'll be joined alongside Action Golf contributor Tony Sartori for these best bets episodes. And just like Jason and Ben have done the last couple of years, Tony and I will play 18 holes today, giving our 18 favorite picks for this week's tour event, the Valero Texas Open. Before we dive into this week's episode, a reminder that the Links and Locks podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for the biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boosts and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF. In Iowa, terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. Okay, Tony, we are on the first tee for our Valero Texas Open best bets. Get us started.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go pretty chalky here to start us off. So Zach Johnson went back to back in 08, 09, and I'm gonna pick Corey Connors to do so as well and claim his third victory at this course. So on top of winning twice here previously, Connors finished 35th, 14th, and 26th in his three other appearances here. So he's 5 for 5 on made cuts, 35th or better all 5 times with 2 wins. He's just utterly dominated here. He's gonna be a little bit of a tougher field this week for sure, but he's such a good approach player that I'm not too worried about the level of competition that he's going to face this week. And it makes sense that a Greg Norman design course kind of complements, or at least this Greg Norman design course complements his game, because it's a ball strikers course for sure, especially on the approach, and that is the strongest part of Connor's game. And it is nice that Scheffler won't be in this field this week. So Connors has gained strokes on the approach in 12 straight tournaments, and he ranks 6th on tour in that category. He's made the weekend in all 12 of those tournaments, and he's finished inside the top 25 5 times. He's playing good golf, and it's because of his approach game. And now he's going to a venue where he's had a lot of success because of that approach game. The one thing that's kind of kept him from like being into getting to like the top 5 and winning these events that he's been playing well at is his putting. But he's had so much experience at this course as someone who's won it twice. I think that he's gonna know the greens well. He's gonna know where he can hit and where he can't. And so at 22-1, I like Corey Connors to go back to back.
I'm going to stick in the outright market and go with a selection close to the top of the board. I don't like always going this high, but I feel very confident that this is a very logical breakthrough spot for Ludvig Aberg, 12-1 enhanced on Bet365. Ludvig played his college golf at Texas Tech. This is his first return to Texas as a professional golfer. He has seen this golf course before when he was in college in 2022. So he's at least seen the golf course before, and now he returns, seemingly getting better by the week. I mean, he's coming off an 8th place finish at the Players where he gained 4 strokes off the tee and 5 paid 8 on approach. I think this longer golf course that, emphasizes long and straight driving, overall approach play, being able to attack and score on the par 5s. I think this is right up Ludvig's alley. And I also kind of like the angle that a lot of the top names have played in the Masters before and know what's coming next week. And it's like the classic look ahead spot that we see in sports all the time where, if you know what's coming the next week, it's hard to sometimes focus on the present. And I kind of like that Ludvig is he's never played in a major before. It's kind of an ignorance is bliss approach. It might be, hopefully easier for him to focus on the task at hand this week, which is what I'm hoping for, because, I know he won in the fall swing, but it's time that he seriously announces himself on the PGA Tour this season. He's playing better than nearly any other player in the field. So I'm going Ludvig 12-1 enhance on Bet365.
There's never gonna be a week where I don't like taking Ludvig Aberg. Like it's gonna come. Those wins are gonna start to come from more often. I'm gonna stay in the outright winner market, and I'm gonna go for, after Christiaan Bezuidenhout at 55-1. So he's been kind of boomer bust recently, in terms of like, so he's made 9 of his past 11 cuts. So like that doesn't necessarily fit the boomer bust category, but it's just when he is making the cuts, he's finishing. He's so close to winning. He's 3 top 10 finishes over that stretch. And I just think, like I was talking about Connors earlier with the approach, that's gonna be such a key to success this week. And I think Bezuidenhout, that is going to set him apart from a lot of guys in this field. He's gained true strokes on the approach in 9 of his past 11 tournaments. He ranks 11th on tour in strokes gained on the approach this season. And the reason I keep going back to these approach numbers at TPC San Antonio is that, like, this is, I'm going to steal this from another colleague of ours at the Action Network who's writing an article on this week, but it's such a second golf shot course, right? And so last year, the finishing positions 1, 2, and 2 guys tied for 3. All 4 of those guys ranked 1, 2, 3, 4 exactly in strokes gained on the approach. So like there's a precedent of like, if you're gonna gain strokes on the approach, that's how you're gonna separate yourself. And of course, it's really not that difficult to score here. But if you're just knocking your approach shots close, you get those birdie putts. That's gonna kind of what's gonna separate you when you get close to the top of the leaderboard. So I mean, Bezuidenhout finished 28th here last year, and that was his first time playing here. So now he's got a professional tournament at this course under his belt. He's playing a lot better now than he was last spring. So at 55-1, Bezuidenhout is who I like in the outright market as well.
I'm going to stick in the outright market and go with Mav McNealy, 75-1. I love the way Mav's playing. And he, in my opinion, you mentioned one of them in Bezuidenhout, but some of these players like Horschel, Bezuidenhout, Mav McNealy, Keith Mitchell. I think these are some of the best guys in this field that are not qualified for the Masters. And, 8 of the last 11 years, we have seen somebody win the week before the Masters that isn't already qualified. And I think of the players that are not qualified, Mav McNealy has one of the best shots to win this event. He's had 2 top 10 finishes already this season on overseeded Bermuda. He's one of the best overseeded Bermuda putters in this entire field. He's driving the ball great right now as well. If we can just get the irons to be somewhat navigatable on a golf course like this, I think he's doing everything else so well right now. Rounding into form at kind of just the right time, and the extra motivation should be there this week for him to hopefully play in what I believe would be his first Masters.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually such a good segue too, because you just said his name. I'm gonna stick in the outright market right around the same price. I'm gonna go after Keith Mitchell at 60-1. I was on him last week, did not work out, didn't even make the cut. But I think we see a bounce back here, and I think that's also giving us a nice price at 60-1. It's kind of like the buy low opportunity, excuse me. I don't want us to forget that before that missed cut, he had 5 top 20 finishes over his previous 8 tournaments prior to last week. He has gained true strokes on the approach in 9 consecutive tournaments, and he ranks 10th on tour in strokes gained on the approach. And I was talking about like improved performances as you get more like starts here. Mitchell finished 26th in his first appearance here, and then he followed that up with a 17th place finish. So he's improved year over year when playing at this course. He's playing outside of the missed cut last week. He has been playing a really good brand of golf, and it's mostly been because of the approach game. So it's 60-1. And for the extra motivation, like you said, I like Keith Mitchell this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just skip right to my Keith Mitchell play as well, because I'm a huge fan of him this week too. I don't really have as much confidence as you do for him to win a golf tournament, just from what I've seen recently at the Valspar and some of his other recent performances
That
on
Sunday
Sunday.
collapse was terrible.
Yeah, when he gets into
Exactly.
contention. With that being said, like, I think he is a great top 30 play this week at plus money. I got him plus 150 to finish in the top 30. We mentioned the motivation. I just think there's a great golf course for him in general. I think there's a huge underrated advantage to be found if you can reach these par 5s and 2. And Keith Mitchell is one of the longest drivers of the ball in this field. He is hitting his irons incredibly well this season. Like, he has made a total leap in his approach play. So glad to see that we are on the same page, that Keith Mitchell is going to have a strong week in San Antonio.
And then for my last outright winner, I'm gonna go after Aaron Rai at 70-1. He had a bit of a slow start to 2024, but he's really started dialing his game recently. He's made the weekend in 4 of his past 5 tournaments, and he just finished 7th at the in Houston last week. Excuse me. and that was his best performance of the year, and he looked really, really good. The main reason for this turnaround has been his improved iron play. That's been improving as the season has progressed, and he now ranks 19th on tour in strokes gained on the approach. And like Mitchell, Rye is a guy who has improved year over year at this course. He first time here he finished 29th. Then last year finished 28th. I mean, I guess that's a very marginal improvement, but it still shows that like, hey, now he's got two full experiences, two full 4-round experiences at this course underneath his belt. He's playing his best golf of the season right now. And so at 70-1, I think there are worse flyers to take than Aaron Rye.
I'm going to go into the top 20 market and roll with Alex Noren, who's just playing some incredible golf right now. We were on him last week. He surged up the leaderboard on Sunday to finish in the top 20. I see no reason to believe that he's not going to finish in the top 20 again. I thought plus 170 were great odds for Alex Noren. He's coming off 3 top 20 finishes in a row at the Cognizant, the Players Championship, and then last week at Houston. He has played well at the Valero in the past. We know he's got one of the best short games in the field. We know he's one of the best putters in the field, but I think you really want to target Alex Noren when that ball striking is starting to come around as well. And this is some of the best that we've seen Noren hit the ball in the last couple of years. So I see no reason to hop off Jaeger at a course that he's played well at in the past too. So I expect Jaeger to keep the momentum going this week with another top 20 finish.
Yeah. I mean, Noren, he was right there for us. He was right there for us last week. Unfortunately, he couldn't get it done. I'm gonna take us to the top 10 market. I'm gonna go after Lucas Glover, who's 7-1. So he finished last year. He had that 4th place finish at the Rocket Mortgage, and that seemingly, I don't want, like, it sounds dramatic to say it revamped his career, but he has been a completely different golfer since that tournament than what he had been for a couple years prior to last season when he did that. So including that 4th place finish, Glover has made the weekend in 16 of his past 19 tournaments, and he's got 5 top 10 finishes over that stretch. So he can hit this number, which I really like then at 7-1. And he went back-to-back wins at the Wyndham and the St. Jude Championship last year. So when his game is on, he can win. And when you're at the St. Jude Championship, that's against a very elite field. So he can get it done. If he can get it done there, he can get it done here. His approach game has been the main catalyst for this success over the past year. He's gained true strokes on the approach in 16 of the 17 tournaments of which ShotLink data has been available during this run. He also is coming off an 11th place finish at the Valspar, so he's right there recently. And again, if whether he gets it or not, it remains to be seen. But if you're going to give me 7-1, and there's just too many reasons to like Glover, I think, at that price, and not at least like just put a little play on it. And finally, he finished 4th year in 2021, so he's proven he can do it. He's proven he can do it. So 7-1, why not, Lucas Glover?
Yeah, I love that we are aligned once again, noticing a theme, you having a little bit more confidence than I do than these guys, because my next play was Lucas Glover top 20 plus 300. But I just think that this guy is a statistical darling for me every week. My numbers always seem to love Lucas Glover. I think you want to play him on any golf course that Corey Connors plays well. I think they do a lot of the same things. They have very similar games. I would actually say that the biggest differentiating factor between the two is that Glover has a much better short game than Connors and actually can get hot around the greens as well, which I do think matters at TPC San Antonio. And, the only reason I have a little bit less faith than you is just because I've played the game with Glover many times and I've seen how cold that putter can get. But I generally believe that based on his ball striking ability and short game, even if he loses a couple strokes putting, I still feel like I have a pretty good cushion with the top 20 on him at plus 300.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad we're on the same page on that. Another flyer for me, another top 10, big number here at 9-1, but I'm gonna go after Mark Hubbard. We're catching a long number here. I mean, for good reason. I mean, he's definitely not even close to being a top 10 guy in this field. But I think there's worse dart throws to make than 9-1 on Hubbard. He does have one top 10 finish this season. And the main reason why I want to take this flyer is that because his floor has been actually pretty high. It's just he's not doing much after that, but he's made the cut in every tournament he's been in this season. So he's making the weekends. So 9-1 is a number where it's like if he makes the weekend, then if he just 2 rounds get hot, you don't even have to win the thing. Just get up there towards the top 10. And finally, there's a course where he could do that because he does rank 27th on tour in strokes gained on the approach this season. So you're give me the high floor. If he makes the weekend, I'm not going to lose sleep if he finishes like 25th and I missed out 9-1. So Mark Hubbard is where I'm going to go in that market.
I'm going to go into the top 40 market for a couple long shot plays at plus odds that I think are great bets to make the cut. I'm going to start with Brendan Todd, plus 125 to finish in the top 40. There's a golf course that Todd's played well at the past. Todd remains one of the best putters in this field. And I know that he gets priced this way because the ball striking comes and goes, but we've seen his upside before finishing sixth at the Arnold Palmer recently in a much stronger field. Obviously, he's not a player that's qualified for the Masters. I expect that we get his best effort this week on a golf course, like I said, that clearly fits his eye. He's played well here in the past. He just has, I like playing on guys in the top 40 market that are elite at something. And Brendan Todd is always live to finish top 5 based on the strength of his chipping and putting alone. He makes a surprising amount of cuts, despite dinking and dunking out there and not, possessing a lot of power off the tee. He does it in the old school way. So I think Brendan Todd plus 1 in 25 to finish in the top 40. I expect him to continue to play well at TPC San Antonio.
Yeah, I really like that play. I'm gonna go to the first round leader market. And as always, I'm waiting to actually lock in these first round leader plays until tee times are announced, which at the time we were recording, they are not yet. So keep an eye out for my first round leader article here this week at the Action Network. But with that said, assuming he's just like not in the last group out in the day, the first guy I'm gonna look at is Andrew Novak, and he's 90-1 to lead after the first round. So Novak has been flying under the radar this season. He's made the weekend in 5 of his past 6 tournaments with 3 top 10 finishes over that stretch. He hasn't been closing, which is kind of why I'm taking the shot on the first round leader market instead of outright market. But he's finished 9th here before, so we know he can score at TPC San Antonio. And can he use that to get off to a good start on Thursday? I think so. He ranks 16th on tour in strokes gained on the approach. And it's just like, if I'm gonna take a flyer on, I have some pretty big numbers for these first round leader markets. If I'm gonna take a flyer on these next 3 guys, I feel more confident that they can just like get hot in 1 round versus like it's a good field. So like them holding that for 4 rounds may be more difficult. So at 90-1, Andrew Novak is who I like to lead after Thursday.
That was a play for me as well. By the way, that number's gone down. I mean, just looking before on Bet365, he's down to 75 now. I think
Oh,
there's
let's go.
a lot of merit in that because Andrew Novak significantly raises his baselines in round 1. He comparatively speaking to, his strokes gain performances around 2, 3, and 4. Like he is a much better round 1 player than he is in all the other rounds. And I think that, if you just keep betting Andrew Novak first round leader every single week that he's playing, I think there's a very good, especially at such high numbers, right? Especially at a number like 90-1. I think there's a very high chance that he will come through for you at least once or twice this season. So I am right there with you on Andrew Novak. He's down to 75-1 now. I like that down to 75, and I'm a huge fan in his ability just in general on this golf course. Like I love the way that he's hitting his irons. He's also finished top 10 here in his most recent appearance. So he's got some good vibes at this course as well to couple with the recent form and the spike in performance in round 1s.
Absolutely. Once again, glad we're on the same page. I would also play it down to 75. I'm gonna go a little bit longer now in the first round leader market again. I'm gonna go after Ryan Moore. Long shot here, 100-1, but he ranks 4th on tour this season in strokes gained on the approach. And again, I've been so big on the approach stats this week, and it's just like you're gonna give me 100-1, a guy who ranks 4th on tour in that category. I'm gonna take that as a flyer any day of the week. Can he produce across? This is kind of the same thing I was just saying with Novak too. Can he produce across all 4 days? I don't know. I trust a lot more on Thursday than I do on Sunday though, and that's for sure. So at 100-1, I think there's worse flyers to make. And he's played well here previously. He's made the weekend in 5 of his 6 career appearances at TPC San Antonio. He boasts 3 top 10 finishes here over that stretch. And it makes sense. Again, it's like what I was talking about Connors. Approach guys who are so heavy in their game or approach dependent in their game. this is the course for them. And it has been for Connors and it has been for Ryan Moore. So if you're going to give me 100-1 for him to lead after Thursday, why not?
Love Ryan Moore. He's been kind to me this season as well, and I love the way that he's hitting the ball right now. So I like riding the hot hand there. I'm going to give us one more first round leader play, and go with Rory McIlroy 20-1. I like playing on some of the better players in the field in the first round leader market on occasion because you're going to get much better odds. Rory's done this a couple times this year where he's gotten off to a massively hot start. He did it at Pebble Beach. He did it at the Players Championship. And then he tends to fade fairly significantly over the weekend. We know that his mind's on Augusta. I don't expect Rory to um, seriously contend this week. I don't expect him to use a lot of his energy seriously contending to win this golf tournament on Sunday. I feel like a way more likely outcome for this week for Rory is like get off to a really hot start, show everyone, show yourself that you can still do it, and then not expend too much energy and kind of fade into like a nice T24 over the weekend. I think he's going to continue to get off to a hot start and make some noise, and we're all going to lose our mind over Rory winning the Masters after he shoots a 64 on Thursday, and then he's probably going to do what Rory does at a lot of these tournaments, which is slowly fade down the leaderboard as the week progresses. But I think 20-1 on Rory first round later is a way better bet than 9-1 on him to win the tournament.
Yeah, I like that. And it's funny because I was debating literally him in the first round leader market as well. I didn't pull the trigger, but it does make sense. Like, I feel like he needs to see a low week. He needs to see a week where
Yeah,
he's scoring a lot of birdies. And I think that's honestly why the only reason he's even here this week. But yeah, I like that play a lot. And then for my final first round leader play, I'm going Ben Martin. This is 175-1. So just little play here, super long shot. But this kind of fits the trend I've been talking about with Ryan Moore and Novak is that I don't think that Martin can hold this field for over a 4-day sample size. That would be very, very shocking. Or Ben Martin, sorry. I don't think Ben Martin can hold this field down for a 4-day sample size. But I think he has the tools to maybe get hot enough on Thursday where he can sneak away with maybe a T1 or even just solo lead. His irons have been good this season. He ranks 20th on tour in strokes gained on the approach. He finished 10th here last year, so he has proven that he can score here. And again, you talked about with Novak how there are guys that score better early in the week than later in the week, which I mean makes sense. It's a tough game when you got to close and the pressure's higher. The shots are harder to make, right? But for Ben Martin, that has exactly been the case for him for pretty much the last 6 years at this point. He can get off to a hot start, but can he close? I don't think so. But we saw him last year. He was tied for the first round lead at last year's Kraus Punta Cana Championship, and then he didn't close out the tournament. That's not a great comparison to this week, but just shows that he does have the tools to score and get a lead at some point. I don't think he can do it over 4 days, but 175-1, I've seen crazier things happen, especially on this tour season. So that's my final play of the week is Ben Martin, first round leader.
I'm going to finish us off in the top 40 market with Bud Cauley plus 125. I really like the way that Cauley's playing right now. He's starting to hit his irons really well. I know he finished 45th last week in Houston, but he gained 4.5 on approach. He's driving the ball in play. He's had a lot of historic success in Texas as well, back kind of in the mid 2010s before he had a bit of an absence and battled some injuries. But he's back now in 2024 playing some really good golf. And, I still think you might be able to be pretty early on the Bud Cauley renaissance. So I think at plus 125 to finish in the top 40 market, that is a great way to gain some exposure on a player with some pretty appetizing odds this week that I think is only going to continue to raise in our estimation and should always be in the mix for us anytime we're in Texas. And that'll do it for our best bets episode for the Valero Texas Open. Gosh, just reading through last week's outline here, we were so close on that Scotty Scheffler 22-1 to win in a playoff
I know.
bet, huh? But I can't even get mad at it because I'm reading at it right now that I also gave out Jaeger 45-1.
Yep.
So I mean, that's probably ended up being more profitable for the listeners, but the Scheffler playoff would have been cool because I just thought that was such a bad number where you're betting Scheffler 2-1 to win the tournament. But like chances are, there's other guys going to be in the mix, and so many of these come down to the final moment. If you get him in the playoff with Jaeger, what are his odds? Like minus
Mine,
200,
yeah, I
minus
was gonna say at least
225?
-175. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Hmm.
So hopefully we can keep it going this week coming off the Jaeger win. Before we get out of here, a final reminder that the Links and Locks podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else every day. They power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. As a reminder, our action experts Spencer Aguiar and Nick Bretwish return with host Roberto Arguello tomorrow for the Valero Texas Open betting preview right here on the Links and Locks podcast. So for Tony Sartori, I'm your host, Andy Lack, and we will see you back here next week on the Links and Locks podcast for the Masters presented by Bet365.